Module 3, Unit 5, Using File Systems. In this unit, guys, we will talk about file systems that we use every day or that we encounter every day in computer systems. We will describe the properties of file systems and selecting the appropriate file as well for a given operating system and its usage. And then we will discuss as well about a file manager in creating, in opening, or in copying and moving a file. Those are the things that you can do even on folders or also what in Linux systems are called directories. And then we will discuss as well the search tools, how to search a file or some tips and tricks in locating a file that very useful even for me. Now, when you are managing a file system, of course, you need to have the right physical disks and drives that you need to use. Kung kailangan mo ng, when it comes to physical disks, depending on the size or depending on the interface of your computer has, you need to be aware of that. So we don't just buy in terms of capacity or speed or whenever it is in terms of price. The same thing with sa drives, no? Whether it's disk or drives, something you need to manage. You need to be aware of kung anong lalo na sa specifications before you get started, especially when you are trying to think about storage or data transfer. When you use a hard drives, meron ding partitioning na tinatawag. When we say partitioning, in my, to say it simply, dinidivide natin yung single hard drive to many multiple drives. Kaya lang logical. Kumbaga, yung physical drive, hinati natin sa tatlong logical drive that you can use separately. Separately, they are independent from each other. You can even partition, divide the drives or use the drives in a different file system. Yung isang partition as Windows, isang partition as Linux, and isang partition as another version of Linux or older version of operating system. Those are the things you can do pag hinati mo yung when you divide the hard drives into partitions. But of course, there should be at least one partition. You can actually, ang ano dito, the point here is that you can occupy the entire drive for one partition. But on most practices, even on automatic installation ng Windows, hinahati ang hard drive ng operating system itself when you are installing. Hinahati from system partition into data partition. Ito yung tinatawag natin na meron tinatawag na active or system partition. When we say active or system partition, dito naka-store yung mga Windows files or Linux files that run the operating system. Maraming klaseng files and folders that we will cover as we move forward. But for now, remember when we say system partition, andito yung files that is being used by the operating system. So Windows drives, when using a hard drive in Windows, di ba? Merong logical partitions sa mga merong optical drives and other removable drives that you can see in an Explorer, for example, separated by drive letters. The drives itself, for example, that's one, and then an optical drive, another drive, and then another expansion drive as USB drive, external drive, no, additional yan, and then that's another drive. So C, D, E, and another USB drive or flash drive as 4. So the more you put an drives, they are numbered. They're separated by letters, So when yung mga system file na tinatawag or when the boot drive is, yun yung drive C. Yun yung primary drive. This is where the system files is. When you say boot, di ba, remember, when you power on the computer and then it loads the program, booting process yun. And booting process is running the program installed in the hard drive. And it is usually installed sa primary drive. Ito yung C. Ang primary drive, remember, it's always drive C. Meron bang drive A? Meron bang drive B? Yes, before. Lalo na sa mga floppy drive. Reserve yon ng BIOS. You cannot change that. So by default and it by practice, it's always drive C yung system files, yung boot drive na tinatawag. Now, um, there's also a term called file systems that you need to be, you need to understand that when it comes to file systems, meron tinatawag na format for every partition. Diba, remember when we say partition, you are dividing the physical drives into logical drives, to different logical drives. And then you need to format that. Yung formatting, guys, ito yung ibig sabihin, you are trying to set a file system that you can write on the drive before you can install an operating system. Kumbaga, nire-ready mo yung hard drive to use a particular operating system. Tawag doon, it is a formatted process. When you are actually formatting, trying to format a drive. And then when you format a drive, may mga file systems that you can choose, or by default, it is either by FAT file systems, or NTFS, or New Technology File System. Sa mga early days ng computing system, ito mga unang nalabas, may mga FAT32 pa nga, in 32-bit. And then, bago lang bas yung NTFS. The difference between the two of them is that more enhanced ang file management dito, more enhanced ang file system when it comes to naming convention and formatting. So, ang Windows actually is using NTFS partition to install it. Yung mga early operating system, yung FAT system ang ginagamit. And then yung optical drives naman, ang filing system dyan, it's called as UDF, Universal Disk Format, or yung CDFS. Yeah, which is also the ISO 9660. So they're not using NTFS, sa madalit salita, they're not using FAT. Sa mga hard drive yan. And then sa Linux system and Mac file system, ang tawag sa mga file system sa kanila instead of FAT and NTFS is extension 3 and extension 4, or HFS plus yung hierarchical file system and Apple file system, or APFS. They are all related because actually, diba, if you remember, Mac is also it's like another Linux variation lang yan. So what are the features in a file system that you need to be aware? So these are the things from the image itself, whether it is FAT32 or FAT, NTFS or HFS or extension 4, the features that you can compare with these different file systems, diba? From compression. Ang FAT32 walang compression capabilities. Even extension 4 sa Linux, it's only can be done on NTFS or HFS plus. And then when it comes to encryption naman, when we say compression, by the way, guys, it's like trying to make the spacing or this space more compact, or the file system na parang spread out yung ginagawang intact para to save some space. Yun ang compression. Kino-compress literally ang file mismo. So ang encryption naman, it's about encoding the data on the hard drive. Hindi siya it's not readable the moment you browse on it or explore on the drive. So sinong may capability ng encryption? FAT32 and then NTFS, yes, and ang FAT32 no, and same with HFS, and then yung extension 4 yes. So yan ang features that you can do that we need to be aware somehow. Lalo na pag may pinag-usapang encryption. Sabihin sa inyo, encryption, pero itong file system, so you can tell, no, it's not allowed. Hindi pwede yan. Ganun ba? And then, when it comes to permission naman, When we say permission, this is a feature that give a user to browse, to open, to read only, to delete, or to create, or to access a file in general. So you can only do that on the three. NTFS, HFS, and Extension 4, but not on an FAT32. Luma na kasi to eh. So, ito yung mga latest filing system that you can find that existed after FAT32. So you can also see from the capacity, ang FAT32 maximum file size is 4 gigabits, and the maximum volume that it can support is up to 8 terabyte only. In NTFS, see, EB, hindi ko pa na-experience to, but probably on data centers, meron tinatawag na exabytes. No? These are huge. And then up to dito sa NTFS 16 exabytes, and then sa HFS 8 exabytes, and then extension 4 hanggang terabyte nga lang. So yung case aware, when we say case aware, yung ito yung mga na pag-infected, or ito yung ano ba tawag dito, yung lower case o high case, no? Dito it doesn't matter kung capital o hindi. Dito it is. Kung capital C is different from small c. And then may mga reserved characters na ginagamit din. Almost these are recognized, pero pagdating sa extension 4, it's used for something else. Hindi siya ginagamit for filing system. It's for system or for a different purpose. Now, meron ding tinatawag na journaling. Journaling in a sense like you organizing or indexing the file and folders within the hard drive. And as we have covered earlier, bawat file system may kanya-kanyang limitations when it comes to capacity or characters to use in naming convention example for files and folders. So kaya may mga naming rules, di ba? Na you're not allowed with capital, you're allowed with capital, you're not allowed to use these characters when you are naming a file or folder. So when we say folders, we all are aware of this na it is our logical folder. This is analogous to in a filing system in the real world na yung folders, it contains files, di ba? Yung mga yellow folder na nakita natin, mga filing folders, and then may files. So doon ang analogy niyan. These are the logical folders where you can save files, where it contains files. And dito may na-organize yung filing system, di ba? You create folders, whether it's for for personal files or school files, you separate that with different folders. But those are just being organized. Kasi minsan even me, we have the tendency na lahat ng files, kahit personal or schools or whatever, or billing, they are all in the same folder. Lalo na yung download folders, di ba? And then you can create different security privileges sa folders, meaning you can allow a person not to use it, you can only permit a certain group to access it, or you can even make it more something like visible or not. So you can define in any way. When you right click a folder, you can see it later on, and you could have tried it before actually. And then meron din tinatawag na root folder or incomplete, yung partition root folder. Ito sa system file ito. So it is also called a system folder. Dito nakalagay yung mga sensitive files that is used by operating system. It is not for access by any user, but it is used by, for example, Windows or Linux. Root folder, ito yung pinakatuktok o kaya important or significant folder within the drive. And then meron din tinatawag na subfolders, di ba? In subfolders, from the word itself, it's a folder within the folder. Ito yung root folder, you have a folder, and you have subfolder, system 32. So in this example, this is a subfolder of a system folder of Windows system. So, yung Windows System folders, ano ba meron dyan? Nandyan yung tinatawag na system root. Nandito yung mga drivers, yung device drivers that we install for interfaces and peripherals. This is where it's being saved. Yung mga logs, ito yung mga recorded activities ng user, application, security that is running on the Windows system. And then yung mga add-ins, applications, kasi meron tinatag na extension files, no? Mga sublayers ng program mismo. And then, nandyan din yung system and registry files. Yung registry files, these are files that only Windows uses. Ito yung mga tinatawag na binary files, no? That also can be translated or being used by the hardware. So, mga utilities, nandyan din ng Windows. It is being kept on a separate folder. And then, meron din tinatawag na program files. Kung merong system files, merong program files, dito naman yung pag min-install ka ba MS Office, dito nakalagay. O kaya another program, like for example, Adobe or any imaging files or programs, it is saved on a different folder. Ang tawag doon, program files folder. And then meron namang users folders din. Dito nakalagay yung mga profile settings ng users using the computer, like my account or admin users or public users or a user that you created to log into the computer. Kasama yung data nila. Nandun yung mga documents. They are separated according to user's profile. And then, when it comes to Linux directories, yung equivalent ng Windows is folders. Sa Linux, they call it directories. In the early days of operating system, directories and folders, they are interchangeable. But just to let you know, folders ang ginagamit sa Windows, sa Linux, it's directories. And then meron din tinatawag na root folder, but it is represented by a slash. Pag sinabing slash, no, it is that's how far are you from the root folder, yung system subfolder I mean. And then when it comes to Linux, walang logical drives na makikita, walang drive C, walang drive D, no? And keep in mind, when we say Linux, everything is a file. Even the drives, it is a file represented by slash. And then, as you all know, no, moving forward with the File Explorer, na ginagamit nyo na to everywhere. Ito yung tinatawag na Windows Explorer, File Explorer, or Explorer alone. Na you can see all the quick links and the drives. No? Ito yung mga easy access o mga shortcuts. You can tell from the File Explorer ulit na as you navigate yung mga drives, no? How many drives na meron dyan? Who is the user? So what other features? Wag sinabing may OneDrive, it was also connected to the network or internet. And then may mga shortcuts dyan, di ba? From downloads. Instead na mag-open ka ng folder and then look for downloads or open for drives, look for downloads. Ito, click this and it brings you to the download folder. Even downloads, di ba? May separate folder. When you download something from the internet, it goes there. So even to the network may access ang File Explorer. Like for example, when you click this or expand, depending sa configuration ng workstation, you can see your neighboring workstation or the devices that you can see in the network. Even in shortcuts control panel, you can do that. And the recycle bin on the desktop, you can see that on the File Explorer. So, meron ding tinatawag guys na user profiles in libraries. What are these? This is, for example, you right click on the document, you can see the profile when it comes to how to optimize or the size itself. May mga configuration kasi minsan na albawa, you change the settings, security settings, no? You can restore it to default. Ito yung default. When we say default, ito yung when you unchanged attributes o properties ng folder itself. So, mga profile subfolders, di ba? Ito yung nandito yung mga documents, pictures, videos, or music and camera roll. Ito yung profile. Ibig sabihin, it comes with different users. May kanya-kanya silang profile folders. Yung music folder mo is separate from the music folder ng different user on the same station. And then on public, in common to everyone. Na for example, in download so in the public profile, everyone can access it regardless of your login. And then even with libraries, kanya-kanya din yan. From music library to picture libraries. Yan ang mga profiles that you can see in Windows, no? So when you are creating a folder, so lalo sa sa Windows, may mga basic rules. Of course, it should be unique at lalo na pag the same level, kung root level or on the same subfolder level, it should be unique. It will not allow you actually when you right click and create a folder, it will not allow you dahil sasabihin mag-exist o kaya automatic mag-append folder 1, folder 2, ganon. And then may mga hindi or restricted characters. You cannot name a folder with these characters. Those are reserved in the system. And then, of course, meron limitation na 260 characters. Who are going to name anyway a folder with that length? Pero meron kasing mga system-generated folders. No? And even the system-generated folders, no, won't exceed this. You cannot create something like this. And what's the point, di ba? And then yung case aware, it's not case sensitive. Capital man or small letters, it's the same in Windows. You are accessing the same folder name regardless kung capitalized or lowercase. So when it comes to files naman, what do we know, guys? What do you have in mind when we say files in the computer system? Files, minsan papasa natin, ano yan, Word file, spreadsheet file. Those are document files. So, but files, technically, when it comes to computer systems, these are the data written into the disk. These are actually, described as containers. Ibig sabihin, dito nilalagay yung mga data na isi-save sa disk. And it's in a form of binary or text files. So, on files, may mga, you can categorize them with different types according to extensions. So, when you are naming them, the same with folders, it should be unique, lalo pag the same level. And you can identify the type of the file when it comes to extension. Ito yung sa dulo ng, ba, for example, word.doc. Ibig sabihin, .doc is the extension name. Ibig sabihin, from the extension name itself, we can identify what kind of file is that. And then yung extension will tell you na, is it a spreadsheet? Is it a document? It's a PowerPoint in .ppt, di ba? And then, meron kasi yung applications are associated yung mga actions to operate a file, whether you open, you edit, you print, di ba? Those are the same sa mga files. You do that, but on folders, of course, it's just a folder. You cannot do this kind of actions. And then when you are creating and opening a files, alam nyo ito lahat, di ba? All you have to do is double click. But sometimes, when you are creating a file, you, of course, save for the first time. It will bring you to save as, and then you write the file name, the name that you can use, and then automatic naka-assign yung file type, .png as an image. And then sometimes to create the file, is all you do is right click and then new. When you click new, there's an option, create a new text file, create a Word file, and so on. So when you can also do, when you're opening, diba, all you do is double click or you right click and then click open, and sometimes open with yung mga new file type na being installed on your computer that never been used, or it's not a file that is not identified, or there's no application to open it. that sometimes ano naman, you have to it is openable by a browser or a different application that you can try. When you're trying to identify the file, and then you don't know what file to open, itong gagawin mo, right click and then open with. You start with and it will give you an option what file, I mean what application to use to open the file. Now may mga options when you try to open, may mga, kung merong folder options, meron din file explorer options that you can see. No, dito may advanced settings, no, when it comes to what to show, what to hide, no, and then you have the option to display as a thumbnail and so on. And then after all the changes, you put it back in a restore default kung sakaling you got lost with all the changes and you don't follow anymore. Ano, may mga nabago ko, di ba? And then, pwede mo i-specify dito kung ano. Usually kasi by default, yung mga system files, some of them are hidden. Or yung mga protected file yun eh. And you can show them actually. These are for advanced users. No? And then if you scroll further, there's other options that you can do in viewing a file or in accessing a file or displaying a file. Now, these are so familiar to you when you are copying, renaming, di ba, or moving files. Pag meron ng nag-exist na file and it comes with the same name, it prompts you automatically whether to replace, to skip, or compare. Magsisave pa rin, and then in dalawa is being or before it's saving, it will tell you the difference between the two. So before, minsan actually before there's no reminder kung anong gagawin mo. Minsan when you copy, it will just copy itself and then ma-overwrite lalo na pag it's an older version ng file, it will just overwrite. Dito it will tell you what to do. It will remind you what to do kung merong conflicting file name. So when you're deleting of files, alam nyo na ito lahat, di ba? Saan ba siya napupunta? Sa recycle bin. And if you open the recycle bin on the desktop, you can see all the files that's been deleted. So basically, mga bagong new user, computer user, when they delete the file, they thought it's gone forever. Nandun pa yung sa recycle bin, di ba? And sometimes yung iba, yung mga naghahalukay ng file, ito yung basurahan, tinapon sa trash, bubuksan ulit, mga nag-uusisa, that's where they go, where the files are go. So to clear this actually is, if you open the recycle bin, you can either you restore or delete permanently. Restore actually, kung saan to originally nakalocate, it will go back to its original location. It will be restored to its original location. And then actually, you can also specify the allowed capacity when sa recycle bin na pag na-exceed, for example, itong capacity, it will be deleted forever na. And by all, you can do that by right-clicking on the right recycle bin icon and then access the properties. And may shortcut. Do you know about this, to erase a file? When we erase a file, ako palaging select and then delete. So may shift delete. Just to let you know, I seldom use it, but it's good to know, di ba? There's a shortcut to delete the file. Now, nakapag-delete na ba kayo ng file from flash drives? And the first time I did that, akala ko nasa recycle bin, but it wasn't. Yung mga dinidelete mo files sa flash drives or network drives, it doesn't go to the recycle bin. And before, my first thought, when hindi ko makita recycle bin, I mean, it's deleted forever pala. But actually, it's not. No, it's still within. No, hindi, when you delete a file from the flash drives, hindi nga lang dumidiretso sa recycle bin. It goes to the hidden or protected folders within the Windows. And there are tools to use that to recover it. So ngayon alam nyo na, no? When somebody asks you, or if you deleted the file from flash drives, lalo na accidentally, no? It's not lost forever. only that it doesn't go to recycle bin just like any files when you delete it from drive C or from any local drives. And then may mga tricks din when you are selecting ano no multiple files. Na shortcut ako sa selecting and shifting click selecting no. You click and drag, you hover your mouse or you press shift and then you click, 'di ba? O control click yung mga multiple file selection. And then or shift arrow select na probably some of you already aware. But these are good information for us to know, no? Kasi um, lalo na pag marami kang files na isa-select and sometimes they are not on the same order and nasa bottom way down below o kaya the next section. So to select a particular file at the same times or particular files a different no layer or at the same time, all you have to do is press the control shift or control and then you click or shift arrow. Those are the combinations. And meron pa nga control arrow space bar select. Hindi ko nagamit to but let's try it, di ba? Now, meron din tinatawag guys na file attributes. When we say attributes, these are the properties or characteristic of a file. When we say an attribute as read-only, no one can delete it except the admin and the owner of the file. You can only open it and view the contents, but you cannot do anything by adding more information. No, just read only. You can only open it. And then merong hidden files. And then not only the system files, but you can make your files hidden. No, you right click on the properties and mark it as hidden. Unless na yung folder ano mo viewing folder view options mo is to show also the hidden files, di ba? And then meron namang files na marked as system files. Ito hindi to ina-access ng any user. These are the type of files as I mentioned na that is being accessed and used by the operating system. And then meron tinatawag na archive. When we say archive, these are being saved or kept separately. This is for archiving, no? It's different from backup. Backup is a duplicate copy. Archive is like you are saving it for good, diba? But something like that that you can still access. Now, merong some of you meron tinatawag na file properties dialog that when you right click on the document on the file you will see these options, and from the general tab you can see the information about the file, kung ano yung capacity, kung saan nakalocate, and then anong type, is it a folder, it's a file folder, just a folder, and then kung folder siya it will tell you kung ilan ng files within that folder or ilang subfolders within that folder, and then even the date of creation. Ibig sabihin it will tell you about the history of the file when it was created. And you can also select the other tabs. Or at least sinasabi ko kanina na you can set as only a read-only or hidden. Or more advanced features when it comes to file attributes. Yung tulad nung when it comes to system, di ba? Or write and other options. And then other properties in that you can find in dialog, you like sharing, security, or you customize the looks of a folder, and then meron compatibilities issues or location, how to manage the location. So when it comes to permissions, diba, you click the security tab doon sa document properties, and then you can see from here kung sino yung mga owners, and then what users, no, and what permissions are allowed for each user. If you select system, for example, ito yung allowed sa kanya. Ito yung authority niya. From full control, you can modify, read and execute, and then up to write. And then si James, depending on what's been assigned, whether allowed lang siya to modify but not full control. That's different. Or sometimes read only but you cannot modify. Or you can be specific, read and write lang, and there's nothing you can do. You cannot copy and you cannot move. You cannot delete, just read and write. So, pag may mga violations of permissions, it will tell you an error message or just like an access denied. And yung, for example, yung sa mga NTFS file, file system, may security tab eh, di ba? Yung FAT, walang security doon. You will not see this. So, it's a good tip sa inyo. Di ba? Pag walang security tab, you know already it's an NTFS sa Windows or it's not a FAT file system. So, in the security, these are the things that you can do. And by default, okay sa system, all of these are being checked. So, guys, when it comes to searching for files and folders, do you use the features of the Windows? May mga shortcuts? You should. Ako minsan hindi eh. Mano-mano palagi, no? Old school pa rin. But actually, you can do an instant search. Just press the flag button on your keyboard and type in the file. And there you go. And then you can do an searching that matching the file name or extension name or the type of application or just a message. Yan ang lalabas dyan when you type in. So to access that sa keyboard or you press start sa Windows to open this option, for example. O yung Cortana, nagamit nyo na ba yan? Ito yung parang si Siri yan eh. No? Or ito yung intelligent part ng operating system that you can actually set up to talk and guide to you and speak to you, no? Or you can dictate the command that you want to do. Now, when you are searching sa File Explorer, di ba? By file name, for example, if you open the File Explorer, you can select by type, by name, or folder. You can check all of those when you're searching to be more organized. These are useful sa mga, sa mga accountant, sa mga secretary, or even every individual. Pag marami masyadong file system, may mga options like this. When you're searching a file, lalo pag ang dami na masyadong file, malaki na nakasulat sa sa hard drive mo. So you can, if you don't remember the file name, you can search it by size or by date na kailangan ba mga file na create ko on this day. Parang ganun. And then you can also search by, or you can view, the files in terms of, different sort. Descending ba o ascending o kaya by type, kung puro word lang gusto mo i-display o gusto mo i-arrange na puro word muna bago and then by group instead of random or halo-halo, you can do that. All you have to do is click on the sort button, sort by, and then choose. Lalo pag by authors or they created, you can do that as well. These are the group filtering tinatawag. And then, even by arrange by, may option na ganyan, no? Now, when it comes to file types and extension, how familiar are we, guys? Of course, alam natin to, no? When it comes to word processing, yung mga text file, yung file name, it ends with .txt. So, lot of text, walang binary information that links with other application. But bear in mind, what you only need to remember, .txt is a text file. Text, walang image then, you cannot even put an image. And then meron din na words processing default sa Windows na RTF, .rtf. Ito yung rich text format. More advanced nga lang sa text. You can use special characters here. Meron din na ODF as open document format. You can just open the document. Regardless meron kasi mga document na written by Google or ibang software. And then of course in Microsoft Word ang extension niyan, ang latest is .docx. Yung mga old school or legacy Word .doc. Yung mga bagong version ng Word, you can open either .docx or .doc. But the older version of Word, now, when you save a file, it saves at doc. You cannot open a document that with a new extension like .docx. The same thing with spreadsheet, Microsoft Excel, ang mga nauna yung XLS, and then yung mga recent version .xlx, XLSX. right? And the same goes with a Word or other MS Office. Yung mga bagong software, it writes on this format, and they can also it can also open with an older version. Ito yung tinatawag na backward compatibility. They can open older version, but the old software cannot open the new version. Yung forward compatibility naman tawag doon. The same thing with PowerPoint, di ba? MS Office, the same concept, yung mga bago at mga luma. And then yung compatibilities. And then ito, yung PDF. Ito yung tinatawag na portable document format. So, it's actually, ang PDF is to convert it, if you want a file in a protected document. So, you can generate or print a PDF through a printer or through a software or through online. Usually when we say PDF, ito yung mga protected document that you cannot edit unless you have, for example, an Adobe writer. Usually mga Adobe reader lang. Unlike with document, when you open, you can edit, lalo na pag allowed ka, unless it is set as read only. Ito, read or write, you cannot change this. Pag PDF reader lang meron ka, PDF viewers. Now, ano ba yung mga image file types? Some of you are already familiar with this. Alam nyo na yung JPEG, di ba? Originally, it's .jpg. Ngayon, JPEG na rin. Joint Pictures Expert Group. Ito yung mga photo format, image format when a file is an image. And then meron din GIF. Alam nyo to. Sa mga, alam natin to, yung mga GIF, di ba? Yung mga dynamic image compared with a static image flat, no? And then meron ding TIFF, tag image file format para sa mga editing applications, no, exchanging images, yung mga cross applications. And then yung PNG is another, ito sa Windows, but it's another image format. That PNG stands for Portable Network Graphics. The good thing about this is, shareable over the network, and which actually you can do with the same with other image files, but this is more portable, lalo na pag ibang platform ang uma-access or sharing with the file. In BMP, bitmap, no? In bitmap yan. Ito yung Windows bitmap. Usually, ito yung sa mga desktop na makikita mong image. Yun ang mga klase ng image type, bitmap. Kasi iba kasi yung resolution nun and size. When it comes to video file types, guys, anong pinaka-popular sa inyo? Yung MPEG. Di ba tinatawag MPG or .mpeg din? Motion Pictures Expert Group. Yun ang ibig sabihin yan. These are the group that defines the standard for a video file type. May ibang compression yan, may ibang mga resolution type, may mga tinatawag pa na ang tawag dito, frequency format, in frequency, no? Screen frequency. So, meron din tinatawag na MPEG-4. Ito kasi image lang, and then ito video files, ito kasi more advanced when it comes to quality audio. No, these are though yung MPEG meron ding sound, but this one is somehow is like more digital that you can separate audio and video. FLV, it is mga flash video. It's the more distinguished about this file is that it has lower lower file capacity when with the same video content. Ito usually before ang ginagamit sa mga presentations or sa mga online videos. So kasi mas lower ang file size niya. And then yung default ng Windows before, yung WMV, kasi may mga proprietary, mga bawat operating system, may kanya-kanya pa rin yan. May mga proprietary video file pa rin yan. Yung .avi, ito yung mga early days of video file format. Usually makikita mo to sa mga video CD, or mga early days of video recorder. Mga low quality and analog ang neto, ang imaging and audio. When it comes to audio file types, anong pinaka-popular sa inyo? O anong mas recent that you can remember? MP3 ba? MP3 is one of the earliest and most popular. Kasi ito yung mga unang release, lalo yung mga music that you found in the computer is that MP3. And then yung mga more advanced, mga high quality audio, that AAC, and then M4A, ito yung an audio that comes with the same standard of MPEG-4. And then yung Meta FLAC na I never used before. Ito, yung ano eh, malamang from the name itself, yung has lighter file size and it supports compression. Yung kinocompress ang file. Pag kinompress kasi ang file, lalo na sa audio and video, it changes the quality then. But for this one, it's not. So it saves a lot of this space and it gives you a larger file size when it comes to sharing or transmitting audio files. So, narinig niyo ba yung .wav? Ito yung mga early days. Since Windows 95 pa to kung have you heard of those? So, to me, the first time I heard of music in the computer, I was so batawag dito, overwhelmed. So, surprised. Believe na believe ako kasi I've seen the early days of computers na hindi, you cannot hear a typical music song. No? Puro para mga beep, beep, beep lang. Now, alam niyo ba yung executable files? What is an executable file? From the word itself, ito yung files that are run. Ito yung mga running programs. Those are files still. Those files that ends with .exe, executable ang ibig sabihin nun. These are the basic type of program in Windows, no, na these are running programs actually. And then meron ding MSI, mga installer. Mga programs that you install with Windows, it ends with .msi. When you download it, usually it does with MSI. And then app is an executable file sa Mac OS. Instead of exe sa Windows, app naman sa Mac OS. And then meron din executable file na that ends with .bat. Ito yung batch files or .cmd or VBS, yung Visual Basic Script, or yung JS, mga script file yan, or PS1, mga PowerShell. Ito yung mga files na executable files that has commands nasa loob niyan to execute multiple commands on a single executable file. Like copy, cut, paste, di ba? Separate command yun. And then ilalagay mo siya sa loob ng executable file, a script file, either a CMD, batch, VBS, or uh, PowerShell. Then meron din mga compression. So keep on saying this earlier. Na compression is when you are trying to, compress a file to save some space, no? Like a file, organize mo instead na nakakalat o buhaghag, compress siya. May mga application dito na recognized by Windows or any operating system like .zip. When you say .zip, it is a zip file. It is a compressed file usually created by PKZip software. And then meron din compression software na lalo na usually in Linux, in tar. .tar, when you see .tar, it's .tar GZ. Yan ang mga compressed file that you download and use in Linux softwares, Linux, Unix, or Mac OS. .rar, di ba? Probably you have heard this. Kasi when you have a file within a folder, instead of sending folder or file by file, you put them in a single folder and then you compress. Parang isang file siya, but it is a compressed folder. Meron din tinatawag na file that ends with 7Z. It's a variation of PKZip. It's 7.zip. Compression din yan. Compression software. GZIP naman din yan, but it's used for Unix and Linux. Mga compression software yan. Yung ISO naman, ito yung mga image file. When we say image file, halimbawa image ng drive C, image ng drive D, ito yung mga naka-install na software usually ito yung mga file format na naka-save sa optical media. And then ito, VHD and VNDK. Ito mga compressed file din, but it is used for virtual machines. When you see this extension file, it is used in virtual machines, either VMware or Hyper-V by Microsoft. And then DMG, ito yung imaging file, but it is used in Mac OS. If you have Apple computers, this is familiar to you. Now, in this unit, the lab activity suggested for you is to use, of course, using a file explorer. What you can do with file explorer, you can modify the attributes, you can change the security settings, diba? Or you can do some compression or shortcuts, all the things that you do, lalo na sa mga bagong user ng computer, this is the recommended activity in order for you to be familiar in using a file system. So, in this unit, we have covered a lot when it comes to file system. When you are identifying a file, selecting appropriate file, managing a file for a particular given operating system and its application, of course. And then we covered as well to use a file manager to explore, to manage a file from creation to moving to copying, no, and then to delete, of course, whether a file or a folder. And then we discuss as well the tips and tricks in searching a file instead of the old way of browsing, locating the file name. Use the search tools. That's the fastest way. So in this unit, I hope this has been informative to you. See you in the next unit. Thank you.